Hi, I'm Emma Spiker for Hempfield's High School student-produced news program, Hempfield Happenings. In this December episode, we are showcasing how technology is affecting Hempfield School District. Now let's get started. Technology plays a huge role in Hempfield students' academic success. This is due to the fact that each student is provided with an iPad. In order to provide every student with a device, money is set aside in order to cover the cost of this resource. Mary Winan interviewed Mike Graham to look into the budget for these devices.
Hempfield School District provides iPads for every single one of their students, but they come with their own expenses. The one-to-one iPad program first started in the 2015 to 2016 school year. It was in planning for 2 years prior, and iPads were first launched in the 4th grade and later integrated into other grades. The first launch of iPads came with its own upfront costs.
First year was 15-16, and we spent around $138,000, I think, for the first lease to get that off the ground. But then at the same time, there were also a number of other costs to do professional development with teachers, because we were not only training the first year teachers, but then all of the other teachers in the district to get everybody prepared for implementing it using the iPads in classes, because we had to kind of tailor that professional development for all of the different subject areas and really pull every teacher in to get them prepared for what was coming in the years to come.
Although iPads had upfront costs, implementing them also eliminated prior expenses.
So the iPad program was never really, I shouldn't say it was intended to be a cost saver. It was designed to be cost neutral from the standpoint that we were not adding additional money to the budget. So if you go back to 2014, 2015, 2016, when we were kind of getting things off the ground, there were a lot of other expenses that don't necessarily exist today. So at the time, we were spending $250,000 to $275,000 a year replacing laptop carts. That was a huge expense maintaining those carts, so that all went away when one-to-one started. We also had much higher printing and copying costs. By the third year of the one-to-one rollout, we had reduced the printing and copying contract and expenses in the district by about $300,000. So at the end of the day, after a one-to-one was up and running, we still kind of considered it cost neutral, meaning we were able to displace costs from printing, replacing laptop carts, things like that. So we were basically breaking even, having switched to the iPads.
It is a common misconception that Hempfield School District owns each individual iPad. However, that is not the case.
So the iPads themselves are leased, so technically the district doesn't actually own them. We're really paying to use them. We use them for the 3 years, and then after that they are shipped back to the leasing company that actually owns them. And depending on what's going on, if certain students are using them for a longer period of time for programs over the summer, they're kind of prorated the cost of that. iPads get destroyed throughout the course of the year, so usually at the end of that lease we sort of settle up for the iPads that we're keeping, but the vast majority of them all just get returned to the leasing company after those 3 years are up.
With the large quantity of expensive technology used in Hempfield School District, it's always a good idea to be aware of damage costs.
Yeah, we spend about $30,000 every year on repairs. That's K through 12, all the different grade levels. Depending on the situation with the damage, sometimes there's a bill, sometimes there's not. We really have to look at each damage instance individually. But the overall bill, somewhere around $30,000 for all of the iPad repairs. Our staff, we do repair the iPads in-house, and there's usually about 500 repairs every year that we do, and the vast majority of those are all broken screens.
Altogether, of the total around $143 million Hempfield School District budget, the technology department gets only around $2.4 million, or 1.67% of the total budget. Further into the technology department, iPad leasing gets $560,000 and iPad repair gets $30,000. That means that most things pertaining to iPads in Hempfield School District only take up 24.5% of the technology budget. For Hempfield Happenings, I'm Mary Wynand.
I know I have.
Using the iPads provided by the school, teachers have found unique ways to keep students engaged in their class. Alexis Kohler explored what these review apps are and how they help students.
With the introduction of more technology in schools, review games and apps have become an important learning tool in the classroom. Even though most review apps on the iPad are seen as games, they can help students have a fun break while also retaining knowledge.
I think they enjoy the competition. It depends. I think it's a nice break from other ways of reviewing. If we do like multiple Kahoots, sometimes I think the questions stick and they can remember the answers.
Allowing students the option to use iPad apps also helps with preserving paper, but most times teachers also give the option of paper study guides.
I agree. Like I could do reviews, and I have done other reviews where they have to do stuff on paper and pencil. So it does cut down on some paper use.
With it being so easy to log on to these apps, it saves teachers time in class to use it for more review or more instruction.
Oh yeah, it's a real quick for the kids to sign on and to play a quick game. It actually takes me longer to create the Kahoot to make the questions than it does for them to play it.
Giving students something to look forward to while reviewing also helps them have more focus on the topic.
Personally, I like doing review games because it's a competition, so it makes it more interesting.
Teachers using these apps create more fun and interesting ways for students to learn in the modern world. For Hempfield Happenings, I'm Alexis Kohler.
The iPads are a useful tool. However, it is not uncommon to see students on their phones throughout the day. The social media platform Instagram was created to provide people with a simplistic way to share their photos, but today it's commonly used to spread news and information to the people following you. Landis Knoll researched how Hempfield sports accounts utilize Instagram.
Social media is used frequently throughout the Hempfield community, specifically with Hempfield athletics.
Boys soccer isn't just the only existing account. Football, wrestling, volleyball, and swimming all have Instagram accounts over 300 followers. Sophie Sidoti, the boys' Instagram social media owner, explains why these accounts are important.
So it exists because we have to promote the games, and we also promote the events that they have, like the fundraisers and everything like that. And it's not just for soccer. I think every sports account brings more people and the community together.
Girls basketball coach Sullivan also thinks that these accounts are beneficial.
To be competitive at the high school level for Hempfield High School, you have to work your tail off for a long time. And so they are proud of what they do. And social media and the idea of having some kind of visibility to show what their skill sets are, what they're capable of, is important for them to get recognition for their hard work. They feed off that noise. They feed off the reaction of the crowds.
Since students have interest in social media management, the accounts are beneficial to non-student athletes.
When I get older, I want to do something in sports management, so I think it'd give me experience in marketing for sports.
Social media has a huge impact on the community all throughout Hempfield. For Hempfield Happenings, I'm Landis Knoll.
Instagram, however, is not the only form of social media, an example of this being Spotify. On December 13th, 2016, Apple released the first-generation Airpods, which quickly became popular among the younger generations. This unforeseen challenge of how easy accessibility to music is affecting the school quickly became prevalent to teachers and administrators. Charlotte Robards investigated whether these devices help or hurt the students in their academic success.
And you are allowed to, if you want to pop your earbuds in so you can focus. I know some people are going to be able to think a little bit better that way.
Earbud and headphone use in classrooms is on the rise in high schools, and Hempfield is no different. But does music during class help increase focus, or does it do the opposite?
Focus can be analyzed both scientifically and personally. According to musicgateway.com, brain imaging scans show that music activates both the left and right sides of the brain at the same time. The activation of both hemispheres simultaneously can intensify learning abilities. And for many students and teachers, this is true, as concentration seems to be elevated by listening to music.
I do think when they are working in their seats by themselves and they're doing their own individual assignment, putting the music in actually helps them to kind of block out some of that extra noise.
And I think that it can put me into a zone to successfully complete my work, and especially with the type of earbuds I have, they're noise canceling, so I'm able to drown out all the outside noise and the talking and the fooling around from anyone else, and I'm able to, like, as I said, get into a zone and complete my work and not have any homework or,
And it's hard to focus on what you're doing, sitting so closely to your classmates and get your work done when there's all these extra distractors going on. So I do think that the music does help with that. It helps me with that.
Different types of classes require a different type of focus, like a German class, for example.
Occasionally when students are working on independent projects, they can listen to music, but during normal classes, I ask them, in fact, it's on the board when they come in, take out your AirPods, put away your phones. The main reason being, in a world language classroom where we use the language as much as possible. And if they're listening to music, they're not hearing the language. The more you hear the language, the easier it is to speak the language and use the language.
However, music can be used as an educational tool for classrooms to expose students to cultures and new types of learning.
What I like to do, we do a lot of review games in German. I usually like to play some German music while working on those things so that they're hearing, they can still hear music. They can see that, rap music and hip-hop music does exist in German as well.
However, when not working individually, many teachers agree that having music playing in students' ears can distract students from the lesson being taught to a whole class.
I think they can help, but it has to be a little bit of a middle ground or a compromise. So I think some students think they can multitask and listen to me and listen to their music in the other ear. And I have found that that is a little bit harder to navigate.
So it really aggravates me a little bit when I see kids with earbuds because, they're not getting the full experience. They're not taking advantage of the fact that their teacher is speaking in the language that they want to learn.
I know when to take them out. When the teacher starts talking, I'll take them out, and then when she sends us off to do our work, and she says, she's like, you guys are good, then I just put them in.
In recent years, personal music listening devices have become increasingly popular among students in school. In a poll conducted at Hempfield High School, nearly 76% of surveyed students use these devices in school, and 83% of students agree that listening to music helps them concentrate.
I think the ease of the earbuds, the size of them, the fact that they just kind of slip in, it's very private music experience. I think because it's easier to listen to music and you can get it on your phone and you can, shuffle through music and Spotify and all these different ways to play music. I do think kids have the ease of just popping it on whenever a teacher says it's okay to listen to your music.
Overall, earbuds and music can be a useful tool in classrooms to increase focus and engagement, but finding a balance of when music is necessary or when it could be a problem is important for overall success. For Hempfield Happenings, I'm Charlotte Robards.
When taking a test, teachers are constantly aware of the fact that cheating can possibly occur. With access to technology, this challenge has been more prevalent than ever before. Izzy Heisey looked into why students feel the need to cheat.
I have cheated. I've cheated. Yeah, I've cheated. I'm a cheater. Cheating.
Something that many students resort to, but why?
When taking a test or quiz, students may be tempted to cheat, whether it's on paper or an iPad. In fact, in an anonymous survey, almost 27% of our student body has admitted to cheating by using technology. I discussed with a student who wishes to remain anonymous about their personal experience with cheating.
Are the majority of your tests or quizzes on paper or iPad?
Paper.
Which do you prefer?
iPad.
Why?
So I can cheat.
How often do you cheat if the test is on the iPad?
Every time.
But the anonymous student doesn't seem to think that cheating is the problem, but instead the traditional idea of test taking.
I hate tests, and they should not be taken.
Why?
because they're hard and you need to have really good memory, and it really doesn't like challenge your intelligence, it just challenges your memory.
When asked why this student cheats, their answer is pretty predictable.
Because I want a good grade.
Why do you want a good grade?
Why wouldn't I want a good grade?
But maybe the real question is why students feel such a strong need to have good grades, but this time from a teacher's point of view.
No, I think a lot of students feel embarrassed when they don't know. Especially in upper level classes. They don't want to appear like they don't know or understand something. Sometimes teachers can be really unapproachable. So I do think some students will resort to cheating because they feel insecure about not knowing something.
The anonymous student also seems to think that if teachers changed the way they taught, cheating would not be as common as it is.
There's a couple of teachers that I was able to get through tests without cheating because they made class fun and more engaging, so I didn't zone off as much.
Even Miss Hunter almost agrees with the anonymous student.
But sometimes I think back on a unit and think I could have taught that better. I could have helped them. And sometimes that end assessment lets me know how I've done. So, yeah, could I always make it better? Yeah. Could I always provide my students more support? Yeah. Could students also speak up more? Yeah. Could students also ask for support? Yeah. Could students also complete their assignments? Yeah. So sometimes it's really hard to know what variable is causing the poor performance or a missed question on a test.
You decide. Are students the problem when it comes to cheating, or is it the idea of test taking and how a teacher educates their students that truly create the root of cheating? For Hempfield Happenings, I'm Izzy Heisey.
Since this month's show is focused on technology, it is important to take a couple minutes to further discuss this topic. I have gathered 4 students, Eliza Vermani, Kaden Bugwalter, Megan Wartella, and Eli Manzetti, to be student representatives of Hempfield High School in a panel discussion. First off, I just want to say thank you so much for being here today. And first, I just want to start off with the topic of the iPads in school. So each student has their own personal iPad in the high school. How do you think this helps better your education? Do you think it helps or hurts how you learn? Hayden, what do you think?
I think the iPads are a great tool. They have the internet, and obviously there's a specific app store, so it's not as easy to mess around. So kids, they're able to do research, use Google Docs, they have all the necessary tools to learn and do projects and stuff like that.
Yeah, for me it's similar. I get to organize my thoughts much easier using Word and Google Docs. Writing's easier. I take all of my notes on the iPad, so it's just a nice tool.
So do you think that makes it harder for the teachers having to constantly be checking the iPads and looking at what everyone's doing and constantly monitoring what's going on?
I don't think it's any different from a normal test. You're taking a paper test, you can still look at the person next to you, and that's just as hard to monitor as the iPads, in my opinion.
Yeah, I would say about the same thing. And sometimes even with the iPads, I would say it's easier because if you see someone in the way back of the class, glancing at the person next to them, teachers don't always spot that because they're not always looking at the way back of the class. But with the iPads, they have a view where they can see every student's screen at the same time, so it's very easy to catch a cheater very quickly.
Another thing that's very prevalent in the school system that Hempfield has recently adapted to is choosing classes online for the next year. So we started using class choice. So I just kind of want to hear your opinions, whether or not you think class choice is helpful or if you think it's kind of a waste of time. What do you guys think about class choice?
For me, I think it's really nice because I've had to go through years of not having it. And whenever there was a few classes I valued to varying degrees, I'd have to talk with my guidance counselor about it, and it would be a longer process after I already got my schedule. Where now, if I can just change it around and see if I want, I can kind of balance what I really want myself, and I'm able to do it within a matter of minutes compared to having to message my guidance counselor, wait for the changes, message them again, and it's just a lot of a quicker process.
Yeah, I think class choice is great. Eliza and I, since we're sophomores and freshmen and it came last year, we never had to pick classes without class choice, but I mean, it's a really good tool. You're able to go in, you're able to see all the classes and like a short description of what they are. So it makes it like super easy to see the classes that you might want to take or might be interested, and like just choose the ones that you want. It's super quick, it's super efficient.
To learn in the classroom, a lot of students find it very beneficial to listen to music or wear AirPods and stuff. And that's another aspect of technology, is not just the screen, but also the headphones and the Apple Watches and stuff like that. So specifically to music, do you think music helps with the learning in school and staying concentrated?
I would say it depends on the noise around them. If it's a very noisy classroom and a student wants to listen to, like, I don't know, classical music, then yes, I think listening to music then should be encouraged, because it might help the student actually focus instead of eavesdropping on the conversations around them. But if it's like a quiet classroom and there's not, or like the teacher is trying to teach and the student is trying to listen to music, I don't agree with that. I believe that headphones should not be used in that instance.
Yeah, I think like when doing work, it's like really helpful to have like music that's like plug in your AirPods and then just like listen to music. It helps you focus. I feel like I get stuff done a lot like faster and easier with that then.
I think for me, like it really depends. I know my calculus teacher, he plays music a lot, and it helps me like kind of connect like the music to whatever we're learning, and that is just good for my memory. But at the same time, sometimes I'll just like put in an AirPod, and then I'm like, okay, this will help me, concentrate a little bit more, and then it doesn't. But sometimes it does as well. So it really depends, I think, on like the person in the day. Like it's not very much universal.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. I think when the teacher's talking, like as much as I want to be like listening to music over like whatever they're teaching, I think you definitely should be listening. But like when you're doing work on alone, I think music is like a really good way to kind of like tone out everything else and kind of focus on what you're doing. So yeah, I mean, I think music's a good tool as long as you're listening to what your teacher is and taking in the content.
Studies have actually shown that kids are losing their motor skills because of being on devices and technology. What are your guys' thoughts on that?
To just have kids like typing on an iPad, that's a very repetitive motion, and it's easy to just like, I've been using technology for so long now that I can just do it without even looking, but for a little kid to do that, I don't know, I just feel like it would mess with some things later in life.
What do you think can be done to help with like the motor skills? Do you think we should just get rid of devices for little kids altogether, or do you think that there are like therapy things that can be done? Like how would you go about helping the kids with their motor skills?
I think that like we shouldn't like get rid of technology. Like technology isn't like so bad. Like it's not like that. I think we should just like add more stuff that you do in person, more like hands-on stuff.
I would agree with that. Like I would say maybe lean off of the iPads a little bit less, like use some paper tests and like make the kids color or something instead of do it on like an iPad. But I mean, if you have like activities or like a Kahoot on an iPad, I think that's still a useful thing to have to keep kids engaged.
I just want to thank you guys again. Thank you so much for being here and discussing technology with us.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
We are often reminded how technology can negatively affect our social, emotional, and mental health. But it's becoming more apparent how it can also affect us physically, specifically younger children's fine motor skills. Fine motor skills are the small muscles in your hands that you use in several activities throughout your day. As the upcoming generations are spending more time at home scrolling and tapping on their devices, it is causing them to become very behind in their fine motor development.
What's happening more and more is kids are getting to kindergarten and they can't hold a pencil right. They can't write their name. They can't tie their shoes. They can't hook the zipper on their jacket. All these things that, kids used to be able to do going into kindergarten, and they're finding that more and more kids are struggling with those things. Anything that requires some of that dexterity and strength in the hands.
Not only is this being noticed in schools, it is also gaining attention from the media. There have been many studies that question whether or not we should be handing our kids devices at such a young age.
There was this study, and it basically was 24 weeks, and one group of kids interacted with an iPad. It's a tablet, so I'm assuming an iPad with apps and things like that. And the other set of kids just did normal kind of fine motor activities, and they compared them at the end of the 24 weeks. And the kiddos that did all of those kind of typical fine motor hands-on activities tended to have a little bit higher scores.
Since children are coming into the school system with these struggles, it has forced teachers to have to come up with activities to implement in their classrooms that will work towards building fine motor skills.
So I try to implement as many opportunities as I can for the kids to use fine motor. Like they have a morning task every morning that involves writing, cutting, gluing. I also, we do writing every single day. I'm a stickler for that. As many opportunities as I can to give them.
Move from like station to station, especially in the beginning of the year. I would provide them, with activities such as sorting, things that like using tools like tweezers, like Play-Doh, beading, all things that they would have to use, their hands and their fingers to work with.
It is important for parents to be able to acknowledge their kids' struggles with fine motor skills and get them assistance like setting up an appointment with an occupational therapist.
We kind of are, number one, try to encourage parents to limit the technology. It's disheartening when you walk out into the lobby and every single child sitting there has a screen.
There are also many activities that therapists and teachers recommend for parents to do at home with their kids to help strengthen their fine motor skills.
Give the kids Play-Doh, give them, puzzles, give them anything small that they can manipulate. Also, of course, crayons, just coloring and cutting and gluing, and as many chances as they can give to kids. Take the iPad and give them something that they can manipulate with their hands.
As technology continues to improve, it is becoming more and more involved in our kids' daily lives, whether that's at home or at school. Before handing your children devices, it is a good idea to think about how it might be affecting them physically. For Hempfield Happenings, I'm McKenna Straley.
Many kids are being affected by the use of technology at such a young age. Thanks to McKenna Straley, we are able to understand these risks and make an effort to correct them. That concludes this month's episode of Hempfield Happenings. Thank you so much for watching, and don't forget to tune in next month to see more exciting news from throughout the district. For Hempfield Happenings, I'm Emma Spiker.